The planet Valaris was calm, bright, and full of green life. The sky had two suns, and rivers flowed like silver threads between the mountains. For thousands of years, the people of Valaris, called the Valari, had lived in peace. They believed in science, art, and kindness. They had no weapons, no army, and no war. Their cities were built into the trees and mountains, glowing softly at night like fireflies. Floating platforms carried goods and people through the air. Music played in every home, and knowledge was shared freely. In the highest tower of the capital city, the Valari Council met. They wore long robes and spoke with soft voices. At the head of the table sat Councillor Sira, a tall and wise Valari woman. Her eyes were silver, and her skin glowed faintly like moonlight. She had led her people for 80 years without a single battle. Today, the council chamber was full of quiet excitement. A strange signal had been received from deep space. It was old, broken, and hard to understand. But it was not from Valari. It came from somewhere far beyond their known maps. "This is a historic moment," Sira said, standing before a large, glowing screen. "This signal may come from another civilization. Maybe a peaceful one. Maybe like us." The others nodded. They were hopeful. They had always believed that if life existed beyond their world, it would be kind and intelligent. But one voice disagreed. A scientist named Karnith stepped forward. He was younger than the council members, but known for his sharp mind and cautious nature. His long blue robe dragged behind him as he walked, and his arms were full of data pads. "This is a mistake," he said firmly. "Sending a signal back into the unknown is dangerous. We don't know who or what is listening." Sira smiled gently. "We cannot live in fear, Karnith. Curiosity brought us this far. Why should we stop now?" Karnith looked around the room. "Because the galaxy is not always kind. We don't know what's out there. And sometimes, it's better not to be found," the council whispered quietly, unsure what to say. But Sira turned back to the screen and placed her hand on the console. "We will send a reply," she said, calmly. "A message of peace. An invitation to speak, to share knowledge." The screen lit up. A bright signal pulsed into space. It carried the voice of Sira and the symbol of Valaris. It moved faster than light, carried by quantum waves, reaching far across the galaxy. The Valari cheered softly. Some cried. They believed they had just taken the first step into a new future. But Karnith said nothing. He simply looked up at the sky with a heavy heart, far, far away. On a distant world covered in clouds and oceans, the signal was received. It was a planet no one spoke of anymore. A planet that the old species whispered about in fear. A planet of violent storms, deadly creatures, and wild humans. The planet was Earth. Inside a deep underground facility, the signal flashed on a dark screen. A group of humans watched in silence. Their faces were calm, their bodies strong, their eyes sharp. One man stood in the middle. His name was Captain Elias Vorn. He wore a black uniform and had a small scar across his jaw. His voice was quiet, but when he spoke, people listened. "Where did this come from?" he asked. A woman beside him answered. Dr. Ada Lin, a brilliant linguist, tapped on her screen. "Sector 87K, Outer Rim, peaceful species, unknown technology level. Message is friendly. Maybe even desperate." General Huxley, the head of the Earth Defense Initiative, stepped forward. His gray hair was cut short, and his eyes looked tired. "We ignored the last 10 signals we received," he said. "Most of the time, other species solve their own problems. Or they disappear." Elias looked at the message again. It was simple. "We seek peace. We wish to meet. We are open to friendship." He turned to the general. "They sound like they don't know what's out here." Dr. Lin nodded. "They don't. Their world is too soft, too calm. No predators, no wars, no weapons. Elias Vorn frowned. Then they just shouted into the jungle without knowing what hunts in the dark. There was silence in the room. Then Elias spoke again. We go. General Huxley raised an eyebrow. Why? Elias looked at the signal one last time. Because someone else might answer next time, and they won't be as polite. 3 days later, in orbit around Earth, 3 large ships prepared for launch. They were dark, massive, and shaped like arrows. Each ship was armed with technology far beyond what the galaxy expected humans to have. To other species, they would look like warships. To humans, they were protection. Captain Elias Vorn stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the HSS Obsidian, Wolf. His crew was ready. The engines glowed blue and the navigation systems locked onto the Valari homeworld. He sent one simple message back to the origin point. We received your call. We're coming. Back on Valaris. Sira stood on the balcony of the high tower, looking up at the stars. The air was warm, and the moonlight danced on the water below. She held a small communication stone in her hand, waiting for a reply. Suddenly, it glowed. The message came in, short and cold. We received your call. We're coming. That was all. No name, no symbol, no voice, just those words. Sira smiled. They are on their way, she whispered. The council celebrated the next day. Musicians played songs of joy. Children danced. Artists painted pictures of alien friends they had never met. The Valari believed they had made contact with peaceful beings, perhaps even new allies. But Karnith did not celebrate. He stood alone at the edge of the forest, watching the stars. He repeated the message again and again in his mind. We're coming. No warmth, no emotion, just a fact. Something was on the way, and Karnith feared it was not the friend they were hoping for. The stars shifted. Hidden engines burned. 3 massive ships moved across the darkness of space. They did not send music. They did not send light. They only sent silence. These were human ships. The lead ship, the HSS Obsidian Wolf, moved like a predator. It was black and smooth, with armor like layered steel skin. Behind it, 2 more ships followed, HSS Ironblade and HSS Revenant. Each ship was fast, powerful, and built for war. Inside the Obsidian Wolf, Captain Elias Vorn stood at the main console. His sharp eyes watched the star map as the ship moved closer to its destination. The Valari system. ETA? He asked calmly. 2 days, answered his navigation officer. Dr. Ada Lynn, the ship's linguist and signal expert, stepped beside him. We're close to full translation of the Valari language. Their tech is simple. Their message was broadcast without encryption or protection. Elias nodded slowly. They've never had war. They don't understand threats. Ada agreed. I read through all their cultural codes. No sign of violence. They don't even lie. Then they won't understand us, Elias said. But maybe they'll listen. He turned toward the window. Outside, the stars stretched and twisted as the ship moved at faster-than-light speed. The darkness of space felt quiet, but not peaceful. On Valaris, Counselor Sira Velari stood in the Garden of Peace, watching the sky. It was night, and small blue insects danced in the air. A soft wind touched the trees. A message had come again. A strange one. We are near. Prepare for arrival. No sound, no emotion, just words. Sira smiled anyway. They are just shy, she told the others. The people of Valaris were excited. They painted murals on city walls, giant paintings of starships, alien hands shaking with Valari hands, and bright futures. Some Valari even began learning human words. But not everyone was happy. Carnith, the cautious scientist, walked alone in the data tower. He studied the ship signals. He scanned the energy levels, and what he saw made his skin feel cold. "These ships are massive," he said quietly. "Their heat signatures are off the charts. No peaceful vessel uses this much energy just for movement." He checked again, then again. Layered armor, electromagnetic shielding, weapon ports. He ran to the council chamber and stood before them. "These are not science vessels," Carnith said. "They're warships." The room fell quiet. Sira looked at him kindly. "Perhaps their world is more dangerous than ours." "They're hiding something," Carnith said. "They haven't sent their names, their faces. No culture data, no open transmissions." Another counselor replied, "And yet they answered when no one else did." That was true. The galaxy had ignored Valaris. But the humans, they were coming. 2 days later, the sky over Valaris changed. At first it was a soft flicker, like a ripple in the stars. Then came the shadows. 3 enormous ships appeared in orbit. The ships blocked the light from one of Valaris's suns. They looked like floating mountains made of black steel. No music played, no flags waved. Just silence. Counselor Sira stood on the high tower platform. Her heart beat fast. She had dreamed of this moment for years. A voice came through the air. "This is Captain Elias Vorn of Earth's ship Obsidian Wolf. We come in response to your signal. We request a meeting." His voice was deep, calm, cold. Sira replied quickly. "Welcome, Captain Vorn. We are honored. You are welcome on Valaris." Within an hour, a small human shuttle descended through the clouds. It was quiet and smooth. It landed in the great field, where thousands of Valari waited. 4 humans stepped out. They wore dark uniforms. Their faces were unreadable. They walked. Like soldiers, every step strong, every move controlled. At the front was Elias Vorn. He looked at the Valari. They looked soft, beautiful, and peaceful. Their eyes were wide with curiosity. Sira stepped forward with a warm smile. "Welcome, travelers from Earth." Vorn gave a small nod. "We received your signal." Sira tried to reach for his hand, but he didn't offer it. "Earth is called a death world," Vorn said. "Our planet is dangerous. Our animals are dangerous. Even our air and water can kill." The Valari around him grew quiet. "We live because we adapt. We survive. And when we fight, we finish it." Sira frowned a little, but kept her voice calm. "We sent a message of peace. We hope to find friends." "You're lucky we found you first," Vorn replied. Sira tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "If another species had received your signal, one with less patience, they would have taken your world by now." Carnith stepped forward from the crowd. "And why should we trust that you won't?" Vorn looked at him. "Because if we wanted to, we already would have." The crowd fell silent. For the first time, the Valari truly saw the humans, not as visitors, but as something else. Something dangerous. Later, in a private meeting room, Sira sat across from Captain Vorn and Dr. Lin. "You come from a harsh world," Sira said gently. "Yet you are here. You came when no one else did." Dr. Lin smiled softly. "We remember what it was like to be alone." Vorn added, "Long ago, Earth sent a signal. No one answered." Sira looked surprised. "Why?" "Because we were feared. We were called monsters, animals, Deathworlders." "And are you?" she asked. Vorn didn't answer right away. Then he said, "We are what our world made us." Sira thought for a moment. Then she said, "We still believe in peace. But maybe peace needs strength too." Dr. Lin nodded. "Your signal was too open, too innocent. You invited the whole galaxy. Not all of them are kind. Karnith, standing in the corner, looked at Vorn. And what do you call yourselves? Kind? Vorn stood slowly. We are not kind, but we are fair. That night, above Valaris, the human ships floated like silent guards. No weapons were shown, but energy levels remained high. The humans never powered down, never relaxed. Sirah stood on the balcony once again, looking at the stars. Karnith joined her. You were right, she said quietly. They are not what we hoped for, but they are also not what we feared. They are something new, Karnith whispered. Not saviors, not conquerors. Sirah nodded. Something in between. Suddenly, a red alarm flashed on Karnith's small data device. He looked down, his eyes widened. What is it? Sirah asked. Karnith spoke slowly. Another signal. Faint. Fast. From deep space. But it's not from the humans. Then who? Karnith's voice trembled. I don't know. But it's not friendly. Far across the galaxy, in the dark corners of space, something ancient stirred. It had heard the Valari's signal too, but it had not answered. It had waited. Now it moved, a swarm of living metal. Machines with no soul, a plague made of wire and flesh. The Zarn plague was coming. The moonlight touched the mountains of Valaris as the night grew calm, but deep in space, calm had ended. A new signal had arrived. It was not like the humans. It was not a voice. It was not a language. It was a pulse, a scream in the dark, and it came from something ancient. Karnith stared at the glowing lines on his screen in the Valari observatory. His fingers moved fast, trying to decode the strange signal. But every time he got close, the pattern changed. This isn't a message, he whispered. It's a warning. The energy signature was terrifying. Dark, sharp, and cold. And it was heading straight for Valaris. Above the planet, in orbit, the human ship HSS Obsidian Wolf sat silently among the stars, but inside, it was never truly silent. On the bridge, Captain Elias Vorn stood with arms crossed, watching data pour in. His crew moved quickly but calmly. New signal detected, said one officer. Not Valari. Not from our side. Something else. Another officer added, high energy. Biological metal fusion readings. Fast approach. Vorn's voice was steady. Zarn? Dr. Ada Lynn, standing nearby, turned pale. You think they're real? They're real, Vorn said. And now they've found Valaris. Down below, Counselor Sirah Valari stood inside the Grand Dome, listening to Karnith explain what he had found. The other council members looked afraid. The humans warned us, Karnith said. We called into the stars, and something heard us. Sirah kept her voice calm. Then we prepare. We ask the humans for help. Another counselor asked nervously, Can we trust them? Karnith replied, Right now, we don't have a choice. Sirah sent a direct message to the Obsidian. Wolf. Her voice was clear. Captain Vorn, we ask for your protection. Something dangerous is coming. We cannot defend ourselves. There was a pause. Then the reply came. We know. We're already preparing. That evening, the people of Valaris looked up and saw something they had never seen before. The human. Ships began to change. Panels on the sides opened, revealing long rows of cannons and turrets. Energy shields glowed softly, forming transparent domes. The once silent ships now hummed with power. In the fields below, human landing crafts deployed machines, tall towers with spinning tops, each creating a protective energy field. Sirah, watching, from the high tower, turned to Karnith. They were never peaceful ships, she said. Karnith nodded. No, they were hunters. They just hadn't found their prey yet. Inside the Obsidian Wolf, Captain Vorn walked through the war room. Giant screens showed simulations, maps, and enemy data. General Huxley, speaking through a secure link from Earth, appeared on screen. "We've confirmed it," Huxley said. "The Zarn plague. Same pattern as the one that destroyed the Iraqi system. You're on your own out there." "We'll hold," Vorn said. Huxley frowned. "That's not a small fleet coming. That's a hive." "We've trained for worse," Vorn answered. "You trained to survive," Huxley said. "Let's see if you can protect." 12 hours later, the Zarn arrived. It began as a shimmer at the edge of the Valari system. Then, ships, or things that looked like ships, twisted metal shaped like bones, glowing red eyes. They moved like living creatures but flew like machines. There were hundreds of them. The Valari panicked. Evacuation shuttles launched, but there weren't enough. For everyone. Children cried. Families clung to each other. Then a voice echoed across the Valari sky. "This is Captain Elias Vorn of the Earth Defense Fleet. Stay calm. Stay in shelters. Let us handle this." The sky burned bright as the human ships powered up their weapons. The Zarn swarm came in fast. Their strange vessels cut through space like knives. Some opened like giant mouths, spitting acid and fire. Others launched spinning spike pods toward the planet. But the humans were ready. The Iron Blade moved forward first, absorbing the first wave of fire. Its front armor glowed red but held strong. Behind it, the Revenant launched guided plasma torpedoes, hitting the Zarn swarm head-on. Inside the Obsidian Wolf, Vorn gave clear orders. "Shield the planet. Do not let a single one through." Turrets spun, fired, reloaded. The sound of human weapons echoed even in the vacuum of space. Silent, but deadly. On the ground, the Valari watched from inside safe shelters. Their screens showed the battle, in orbit. They had never seen war. Now they were watching monsters fight. Monsters. Sira stood near a window. She saw bright flashes, giant explosions, and falling enemy wreckage burning in the upper atmosphere. Karnith, beside her, whispered, "We sent a message of peace, but the galaxy answered with death." Sira said nothing, but her eyes were full of tears. The Zarn didn't stop. Their swarm was endless. Even as one ship fell, two more took its place. Some Zarn ships split into smaller parts and attacked from all angles. Others burrowed into the asteroid belt, using space rocks as shields. Inside the Obsidian Wolf, damage reports came in. Iron Blade has lost its rear shield. Revenant's left engine is failing. But still, the humans fought. Vorn gave no speeches, no shouts. He simply said, "Fire again," and again, and again, until the black of space was filled with wreckage. Then the Zarn did something new. 5 of their ships connected, forming a giant fused beast, a massive bioweapon the size of a small moon. It charged a weapon of dark matter and aimed it straight at Valaris. Dr. Lin gasped. "If that hits the planet, it won't," Vorn said. He turned to his second-in-command. "Ram protocol. Target, Central Core." "Sir, that means—" "I know." A few minutes later, the Obsidian Wolf launched forward at full speed, leaving the other ships behind. It dodged plasma beams and acid sprays. Its shields cracked but held. The massive Zarn beast fired its weapon, but missed. The Obsidian Wolf flew straight into its open mouth and exploded. The shockwave lit up the sky. Pieces of both ships fell into the atmosphere like shooting stars. The giant Zarn weapon broke apart. The rest of the swarm, leaderless and confused, started to scatter. The Iron Blade and Revenant finished the job. One by one, the last Zarn ships were destroyed. On Valaris, the people watched the battle end. The sky was full of falling sparks. Some cheered. Some cried. Syra looked at the burning trail in the sky. "They saved us," she whispered. Karnith nodded. "And they didn't ask for anything." Later, a quiet message came from the Revenant. This is Acting Captain Wren. Captain Vorn is gone. Mission complete. Valaris is safe. Sira sent a message back. We mourn with you, and we thank you. Forever. The sky above Valaris was quiet again. The stars shined calmly now, as if nothing had happened. But the planet below remembered everything. For the first time in its long, peaceful history, Valaris had seen war, and it had survived. Because of the Deathworlders, the people of Valaris gathered in the fields and cities. They looked up at the sky with new eyes. They had once dreamed of friends from the stars, beautiful, gentle friends. But instead, they had met humans, strong, silent, dangerous, and brave. And now, one of those humans was gone. Captain Elias. Vorn, the man who had led the mission and sacrificed everything to stop the Zarn superweapon, was dead. In the great hall of the Valari capital, a memorial had been built. It was not made of gold or crystal. It was a simple dark stone placed at the highest point in the city. On it, 5 words were written in both Valari and human script. He stood between us and death. Counselor Sira Valari stood before the stone with closed eyes. Around her, thousands of Valari stood in silence. A soft wind blew across the garden. No music played. Only the sound of the trees moving gently. She whispered, "You answered our call and gave your life." Beside her, Karnith held a small data tablet. It showed the energy recordings of the final moments of the Obsidian Wolf. He had watched it many times. He could have waited. He didn't have to go in alone, Karnith said quietly. Sira opened her eyes. That's what humans do, I think. They don't wait when others are in danger. High above, 2 human ships remained, the Iron Blade and the Revenant. They had taken damage, but they stayed in orbit to help. The new commander, Acting Captain Wren, kept things simple. He did not speak much to the Valari. He did not explain what would happen next. He only said, "We'll stay until we're sure it's over." And it was not over yet. 5 days later, in the mountains near the North Pole of Valaris, a strange object crashed. It was small, only the size of a house, but it glowed with red light. The Valari scouts who found it called it a metal egg. It pulsed softly like a heartbeat. Thun-Yi. Valari sent word to the humans at once. Captain Wren ordered a secure zone built around the crash site. Armed drones hovered in the air. Soldiers in black armor stood guard. Dr. Ada Lin landed with a science team. She scanned the object and frowned. "It's Zarn tech," she said, "but not like the others." Karnith, who had joined her at the site, asked, "Is it a weapon?" Ada shook her head. "No, I think it's a message." She worked through the code inside the object, using human AI systems and Valari scanners. Slowly, a pattern began to appear. A mix of sound and image. The humans and Valari gathered around a screen, and the message played. First came the voice. It was not a language. It was a deep, grinding noise, like metal rubbing metal. Then came the picture. A star system. Unknown. A world of smoke and fire. And in the center, something huge. A being made of black metal and red light. Bigger than a city. A brain, but also a machine. Its eyes glowed like dying suns. Ada stared at it in silence. Karnith whispered, "What is that?" Ada replied softly. "The Zarn Prime. Their source. Their mind. It's not dead. It knows we're here now." The screen turned black. Then, in broken human words, the message ended. "We are not done." Later that night, the Valari Council met with the human commanders. Counselor Sira spoke first. We sent a message to the stars asking for peace. And now war has come to us. What should we do? Captain Wren folded his hands. Stay quiet. Stop broadcasting signals. The more you speak, the more enemies will hear. But the Zarn already found us, Karnath said. Even if we stay quiet now, won't they come back? They will, Wren replied. That's why Earth is watching. Sira looked confused. Watching? Ada explained. You're not alone anymore. Earth has defense outposts across space. You'll be added to our protected worlds list. Karnath blinked. We're protected? Wren gave a short nod. You're under our shield now. We don't let enemies take what we guard. In the following weeks, the humans helped rebuild Valari's orbital defense grid. Small space stations were placed above the planet. Human technology was shared, but only the basic kind. The Valari asked for more weapons, but Wren refused. Learn first, he said. Use your mind before your muscle. And they did. Valari scientists worked beside human engineers. Valari, children learned human language. Human soldiers learned Valari songs. Something strange was happening. Two very different peoples were starting to understand each other. One evening, Sira and Ada walked through the garden under the stars. Your people are not what we expected, Sira said. Neither are yours, Ada replied. You call yourselves Deathworlders, but you protect. You help. Ada looked up at the stars. Earth is a harsh place. We had to become strong. But we remember what it's like to be small and afraid. Sira nodded. You could have ruled us, taken control, but you didn't. Ada smiled. We didn't come to rule. We came because you asked. Sira looked thoughtful. Do you think it was a mistake? Ada paused. No. You were right to call. Just lucky it was us who answered. But far away. In a dark corner of the galaxy, deep within a red nebula, the Zarn Prime opened its many eyes. It had lost one battle, but it had learned. Its voice echoed through its children. Deathworlders, new danger. Study them, destroy them. The Zarn had never faced resistance like this before. It had never met humans, but now it was preparing, and next time it would be ready. The stars above Valaris no longer looked peaceful. To the people of Valaris, the stars now meant war, fear, and hope, all at the same time. They had called into the void asking for help, and someone had answered, not angels, not gods, but humans, Deathworlders in... The city of Selenor, the new human outpost, stood tall. Steel towers, motion scanners, defense turrets. The Valari watched in awe as the humans trained daily, tested weapons, and mapped every inch of space around the planet. But it wasn't just soldiers and machines. Human teachers taught young Valari how to use tools. Human doctors helped improve local medicine. Even human music could be heard in the streets now. Deep, rhythmic sounds that made some Valari sway without knowing why. Peace was being built. But quietly, war was coming. In orbit, aboard the Revenant, Acting Captain Wren stood before a massive screen. Show me the source, he said. A star chart appeared. In red was the position of the Zarn Prime, hidden deep inside a red nebula, surrounded by asteroid fields and gravity traps. Dr. Ada Lynn entered the room. It's growing, she said. The Zarn Prime is pulling in more scrap, more ships. It's building something. Wren frowned. Another superweapon? Ada nodded. Something worse. A hive mind ship, alive, thinking, dangerous. If it finishes, it could wipe out entire sectors. Wren looked at the chart. Then we can't wait. In the Valari Council Hall, Wren spoke before the leaders. We found the Zarn Prime. It's preparing for war. Counselor Sira stood. What can we do? We have no fleet, No warships. You won't fight, Ren said calmly. We will. But why? Sira asked. This is not your world. We were strangers. You asked for help, Ren replied. And humans answer. 2 days later, 4 more human ships entered Valari space. These were not explorers. They were warships, the Spear of Terra, the Storm Howl, the Black Iron, and the Last Laugh. Each was massive, covered in armor, with hidden weapons and silent engines. They came without music. They came without lights. But when they arrived, the sky trembled. Valari citizens stood outside their homes, staring upward. Some dropped to their knees. Others simply cried. They had never seen power like this. The plan was clear. The humans would strike the Zarn Prime first, before it completed. Its new weapon, the Revenant and Iron Blade, would lead. The new arrivals would flank the nebula from 3 sides. A small group would land and plant a Nova Core, a human-made gravity bomb strong enough to destroy a moon, but it wouldn't be easy. The Zarn Prime had already learned. It would not make the same mistake again. 3 days later, the fleet moved out. From Valaris, the sky sparkled with the trail of human engines. Sira watched from the council tower. Karnith stood beside her. Do you think they'll win? Sira whispered. They crossed the stars to help us. I believe they will. Inside the Revenant, Ada stood with Captain Ren in the drop bay. She wore a combat suit now, her face hard but her eyes tired. I've seen the scans, she said. There are thousands of Zarn down there. Ren checked his weapon. Doesn't matter. Ada looked at him. You know this is a suicide run, right? He paused. Maybe. But if someone doesn't do it, no one else gets to live. As the human ships entered the Red Maw Nebula, the space around them shimmered. Gravity mines exploded. Fields twisted. Zarn drones attacked like swarms of insects. The Iron Blade fired a plasma burst. The Storm Howl launched Seeker missiles. The Last Laugh blinked through space with teleport skips. It was chaos. It was beautiful. Human war was not clean. It was not quiet. It was loud, brutal, and fast, but it was working. Deep inside the nebula, the Zarn Prime waited. It had no face, no mouth, just thousands of red eyes and a mind of ancient hunger. It spoke in metal. It moved like smoke. It hated life. But even it had learned fear. For the first time in its long existence, it felt it, because humans were coming. The landing pod hit the surface of the Zarn core zone like a hammer. Captain Ren, Dr. Ada, and 10 soldiers jumped out. The sky above was dark red. Black machines screamed as they came. Tentacles of metal reached for them. But humans didn't run. They charged. Gunfire. Explosions. Mech suits roared. Plasma burned the air. Ada sprinted toward the target site with the Nova Core on her back. Her hands shook, but her legs kept moving. Ren fired behind her, shouting, "Go! Don't stop!" A spike of metal pierced his leg. He fell, but shot it apart before it could stab again. Ada reached the center. She placed the bomb. She typed the code. Seconds. She turned around. "It's done!" Ren limped toward her, bleeding. "Let's go!" They ran. Behind them, the Zarn Prime screamed, not in pain, but in confusion. It didn't understand sacrifice. It didn't understand love. It didn't understand humans. The explosion lit the inside of the nebula like a second sun. The shockwave tore through metal, fire, and void. From Valaris, people saw the flash even from light years away. On the Revenant, sensors went silent. Then, cheers. The Zarn Prime was gone. Back on Valaris, days passed. The humans returned. Some injured, some changed, but alive. Ada stood before the Valari Council, bruised and tired. "You called," she said softly. "We came." The Valari stood as one and bowed, not because they were weaker, but because they finally understood what it meant to be strong. That night, a statue was raised beside the memorial stone. It showed a human and a Valari standing together, looking up at the stars. Below it, only one line was written: across stars, through fire, we came.